one of the things that makes the Hunter so amazing is we have something that we are the best at. Like we're going to talk about Chardonnay, we'll talk about Shiraz. That's amazing. But this style of Semillon is the best of its type in the world by a country mile. That might be my dad, I reckon.
All right, surprise
I can hear the voice. It is. Just not cute. Bruce Tyrrell walked
There's
in.
a surprise.
So, everyone, Bruce Tyrrell.
All right, today we're fortunate enough to be interviewing a fifth-generation winemaker, Chris Tyrrell, from the famous Tyrrell Winery here in Hunter Valley. I'm Jason.
And I'm Trent, and we're here on an unfiltered, unapologetically unprofessional wine journey. And we were saying here, Jace.
Our saying is, drink more, try more, learn more. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Chris, thanks so much for joining us here.
Thanks for having me. You could add in just drink more Semillon, try more Semillon.
Correct. Yeah.
We'll talk about Semillon today. That's okay. We can weave it in there.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming, guys. Great to have you here in our this is what we call the film room, because in the old days when we were teaching people how to drink wine, they would do a tour every day and they'd show people a movie at the end of the room there, and it stored all of our best red back then. But yeah, today it still does. So this is all these large format French oak casks where all the top reds are stored.
It's like a little piece of history, right?
Yeah, it's good room. Good room for a party as well.
Honored to be seeing this place. Actually, it's amazing.
No, it's good. It's a good spot.
We've got a lot to cover. Your journey, the long history of Tyrrell's, some great wines in front of us. But before that, we like to dive into a few icebreaker questions.
Yeah, let's do it. Be nice.
I'll hand over to Trent to go through them.
I'm sure you've tasted some fantastic wines in your time.
Yeah.
Has there been that memorable wine that you've had, or potentially that wine that had connected with the experience as well?
Can I say three?
Yes,
I've got
can.
three.
Yeah.
And they're all non-Tyrrells.
Okay, what is it?
Because it'd be cheating to say Tyrrells. 1984 Mount Pleasant Lovedale. One of the best Semillons ever made. Love it. Absolutely love it. And I got to drink it here in the room just next door with Phil Ryan, the guy who made it. That's one. 1978 Latache. I've had that wine a few times, and there's a long story why I've had it a few times. We have a very close customer who's become a friend, and that's one of the great things about this. But he's a professor in Sydney. We've known him for a very long time, and every other year for my father's birthday, we go to Golden Century and have a bottle of that wine.
Yeah.
So I've had it more than a few times.
Wow.
So that is one of the best wines ever made. Doesn't matter who you talk to. And then 1990 La Chapelle.
Wow.
Jabolet La Chapelle. Had that wine a few times. Stuart Horden, who's the winemaker at Brokenwood, when we had a little bit more money before kids and probably other hookups in life, we tried to corner the market and buy as much as we could when it was a bit cheaper. But we've got a Magnum and a few 750s left. That's my favourite Shiraz ever made. Yeah.
Three amazing special wines.
Yeah.
Is there still a wine that you still haven't had the chance to try?
Still haven't had the chance to try.
That you still want to?
I've never had a good bottle of the 19s, and because they've all been just cork affected. That 1970 Lindemans Chablis, which was a Semillon. Everyone talks about that being the one.
Yeah.
But I've never had a good bottle. I've had it like 2 or 3 times, but they've been just oxidized and poked.
What does your father say? Has father tried it? A good one?
Yeah, he loves them. Yeah. You won't find anyone from around here that doesn't say that's a real home run hit of that one. Yeah.
Okay, next one. A person, either past or present, they would love to have a bottle of wine with.
Probably my grandfather.
Yeah.
Murray. Yeah, so Murray died when I was at high school.
Yeah.
When I was in year 12 though, so I never got to work with him. Drank with him, but probably wasn't that switched on to the whole thing then. Like now, I've got the wine bug and it's my life and I'm obsessed with it. We'd like to revisit that.
Yeah. You mentioned, I think it was like Murray passed away and then you came in at that same time.
It's like the wine god saying you can't have 3 generations at one time.
Yeah.
So he died in October 2000 and my first vintage was 2001.
Let's say you had the chance. What wine would you pick to have with him?
One of the 100-year-old bottlings one of the 100-year-old vineyard Shiraz that we do. That we didn't really do back then. We blended them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think see his thoughts on those. Kick us in the ass if we were doing it wrong or right. Yeah.
Next one. Favorite grape varietal?
Semillon.
I think that was an easy one, actually. Unique wine pairing. So you've had a lot of meals at Golden Century, as you mentioned. I'm sure a lot of other establishments as well. Has it been
good or bad?
Surprising, interesting.
Okay.
Left field.
I was in Brisbane 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
and hosted a little lunch just for some sommeliers and a few retailers. And the chef, we were having Vat47, so which we're going to taste today, the 2022, and he gave us a really nice pizza. Like, it was a beautiful restaurant, but it had fried chicken and caviar on the pizza.
Fried chicken, caviar on the pizza.
And I reckon, like, if I was a massive stoner, it would have been like the perfect meal.
Yeah.
But I'm not. But it was amazing. It was a bit over the top.
So Chardonnay.
Vat47 with pizza, fried chicken, caviar was a bit aggressive.
Wow. Okay.
That's unique. There you go. That's unique. Yeah.
Okay. Last one. Piece of advice for amateurs going into the wine journey, learning about wine, or wanting to go into the wine industry.
2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them in that order.
Yeah.
Just listen, taste, and listen. You see, we're probably all guilty of it. You just want to talk and talk. You should just shut up and listen, and not in a bad way. Just you're going to learn so much, and get to as many tastings and meet as many people. Like, go and pour at events, and you just hang around and listen. And some of those things I did when I was younger. You'd go to one of those dinners and just be a pourer, but you're not really tasting the wine, so you can just listen and you take it all in. Yeah,
and ask some questions as well.
Yeah. Listen more though.
Listen more. Got it. That's it for the questions.
Well, that's the icebreaker questions. We'll jump into.
I think I did okay.
I think so.
You did well, and so we might dive into a bit about your wine journey and experience. And as a 5th generation Tyrrell, I feel like it must be a bit different to the experiences that I had in Western Sydney playing Nintendo, growing up as a kid. Give us a bit of insight. As a kid growing up with a strong winemaking family, is it any different? I'm imagining Drops of God you're tasting at 4 years old.
Probably more Nintendo than wine.
What was it like?
Look, I grew up here on the estate, so I live very close. I live about 300 metres from where we're sitting. Mum and Dad are about 1 kilometre at least. They're at the back of the property. But look, pretty standard country kid upbringing, So motorbikes and shooting rabbits and like lots of space, lots of time to run around and do lots of stuff. Nintendo was a big thing.
Yeah.
But no, look, I used to, wine was always, certainly always around, but wasn't like ever forced on us as kids. And I don't mean like just the tasting necessarily, but like more just the conversation. And I reckon like it just kind of gets weaved in there, and I try and do that with my kids. It's not the be all end all. Like, you got to be a bloody kid, But here, like, had so much fun. Living in the country in Australia is pretty amazing, right? And then like if Mum and Dad would go away, we'd do stuff with my grandfather, but like just, we had lots of cattle then and looking at vineyards and, but yeah, pretty standard, I'd say.
Yeah. But so no blind tasting at 4 years old?
No, but I don't remember when I had my first glass of wine, but it was always part of what was happening.
Yeah.
So a bit of that, but never like, tell me what you taste. It was just like, do you like it? Do you not like it? So a bit of that.
Did you know your destiny was always wine, or did you want to do something else?
No, so I honestly, the first conversation I think I've ever had about work, like my job, my role, whatever, was a couple of years ago when my dad said he wanted to like slow down, and it's just always kind of was never forced to come into the business. Was never like ended up doing lots of different things in the business when I was younger, and then one day you kind of find your feet and you settle into the area you like, and then you go from there. And I think we've been pretty lucky. And I don't know what the right answer is, because you talk to lots of family businesses where they like the kids going out, working in another industry or in another company. Yeah. Tyrrell's is a pretty unique place though.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just got hooked really early and that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you always knew?
No, not really. I actually remember, but the sort of era would have been like probably 23, 24. Yeah. That like, then it's like, okay, you're not like going to work for dad or whatever. Then like, oh shit, like you're part of it. You're jumping out of bed. Yeah. That sort of stuff. So yeah, probably around that time.
Well, you got 2 young boys as well, right?
Yep.
Is that the same type of?
One of them can already like drive a forklift and stuff, but like to them, it's just like a big playground, probably the same as when I was a kid. But I'm not going to make them go and pick grapes or anything yet. They can wait a bit more. That'll always be there.
It's probably the best way to go about it, because I'm thinking if you're trying to force it on your kids, this is where the path you need to take. They're probably not going to enjoy it as much. So if it's organic, it probably comes out with the right outcome.
Parenting's hard enough, right? You don't need to bring work into it too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But you got a lot of great history as part of that wine journey, and you did say you met your grandfather, but you were fairly young, had a great opportunity to work with your dad and learn from him. And no doubt your travels have taken you to learn a few new things. What are probably 2 to 3 tips that you've learned along your wine journey that's helped you create a great business, but also create great wine?
2 or 3 tips that have helped along the way. I think, I guess one thing about all the staff here, and maybe at some point we can talk about, like, you know, it's very much a family business, but a lot of the staff here are simply amazing. It's kind of never been satisfied. I know it's a bit of a throwaway line, right? But like, that's all we talk about here is like, how do you do it better next year? Whether it's vineyard, whether it's the wine, whether it's the barrels, and you know, that's one thing. Like, you know, you're always going to make a good wine, but if you know, and I heard Dave Bicknell from Oak Ridge on a podcast the other day talking about a similar thing, and it really resonated with me, where he went to a wine show and someone got a trophy and said, "Oh, I'm never going to make a better wine than that." And it was like, oh, poor bastard, you know, like, you know, So I think that's always something for us, is like, you've always just got to be better.
Never rest on your laurels, right?
Yeah, all that stuff, right? Just experience. And by that, I mean like exposure, like just drink as widely as you can, as often as you can. You know, when you're young, like if it's a free tasting, fucking go. Like, you know, like it's expensive. It's an expensive game now if you want to do it. Like just, you know, just get amongst it. And it's probably a bit easier with like social media and stuff now. Like I know I'm only 41, but like back then you kind of had to go to a place to learn. Like it's a little bit easier now, I reckon. Like, it is a lot easier. But yeah, just get around where you can. But like, don't forget Australia. Everyone's pretty keen to get to France, get to Italy. But like, if you're like a young Chardonnay obsessed person, like you could do 10 years in Australia first before you even think about going to France.
At a quarter of the price.
Exactly right. Yeah, just get around, get in the car, get on a plane. Yeah, just travel.
Just on that part about, think about Australia, we were talking about it earlier, and I was curious from your perspective if you feel that Sydneysiders, we're from Sydney, born and raised there, give enough love to Hunter Valley as a wine region in Australia. What's your thoughts?
I'd say probably not, but yeah, it's a tricky one. I think sometimes when you're so close, it's kind of too easy in a funny respect. Like I remember after the first COVID lockdown, when it just went mental here, we had all these great customers who were amazing customers. Like and they'd come here and spend a lot of money and say, I haven't been here in 20 years. And not because I didn't want to, it's because I don't have to.
Likewise.
I don't have to. Like I know the wines are great. I buy them every year. I'm not going to come and fight the crowd. You send them to my house for free. You know? So there was a fair bit of that. And I think it's probably just people reacquainting themselves. But I think certainly I've seen it in our own database, our own customers. There's a pretty swift generational shift happening now. And you're getting people sort of my age. So like I said, I'm 41. So probably in between that 35 and 50. That like don't know about, you know, when the Reds were all a bit sweaty, saddly and horse. They don't have that. Like, and I think now people want to drink, if we're talking about just red, for instance, like medium-bodied red's what people want to drink.
Yeah.
You know, so the Hunter's like game on. But yeah, historically, I'd say it goes in waves. So if you think about the 70s and 80s and stuff, like back then, sure, they were here all the time. Then there was a gap, but I think it's changing again now. And we're not talking about wine list representation though, are we?
Oh, well,
we can get to that.
I'm curious, as Sydneysiders, and Trent was saying it, we haven't been here for probably 10 years to Hunter. But the impression of what it was back then, big, powerful reds and so forth, it didn't give the lasting impression I'm keen to rush back. But coming back now, tasting the wines here, there's a transformation that's happened, which I think has got to get communicated out there. And maybe it already is, or maybe there's some more work that needs to happen there. I was just curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's been a huge shift in the businesses here as well. Like you've kind of gone to the days of, you know, the Lindeman's not here anymore. McGuigan don't really make anything here much anymore. So like Tyrrell's is the big brand, and we're not a big, you know, in the scheme of things, we're not. In the scheme of the Australian wine industry, we're not. And we're the big player. So but what I'm getting at is it's all family businesses, like probably 95% of them. You got some really good new brands. Like you were talking to Aaron Mercer yesterday, who's a good mate of mine. Like his brand would be, 4 or 5 years old. But then you've got, like, I think they all like to be called the newcomers, but they're not anymore. And I love them to death. But the Andrew Thomases, Andrew Margan, all their kids are now working in their businesses. They're second generation, and they're all like amazing brands. And then you've got the old guard, like the Mount Pleasant, Tyrrell's, Broken Wood, Tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously I missed out Silkman, First Creek.
Yeah.
In that sort of Andrew Thomas sort of that group there. They're amazing, those wines. And I think there's a good balance now. It's just not all old businesses, not all brand new. And you need that. You need, as a region, you need like a breadth of top producers.
How do you think we need to market it more? I feel like some of the other regions like Yarra or Mornington seem to be doing a lot.
For state government, give us some more money, it'd be nice.
Okay.
Are we doing that here? We're doing that now. But look, I know certainly in other states, the governments like support the regional tourism a lot. And at the moment, there's not much of an appetite for that in New South Wales, which I think is a bit disappointing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just always, I'm also on the board of the local Wine and Tourism Association. So something we're always
thinking
knocking on the door for. Yeah. So yeah, we've got to keep going. But yeah, it's all just marketing, right? Just to get the word out there, spread the message.
And so spreading the message, I think I'm keen for viewers and listeners to understand what makes Hunter Valley special for you, or what makes Hunter Valley a unique wine region.
I think because of what you just said, it's unique.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah,
so no, like it's a fucking hard place to grow grapes, and I think if you can do it well here, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah,
it's not easy. You know, I think a lot of the truly great wines, and I think we're going to try an old Vat1 there, and I think the truly best wines don't come from like the regions that are super easy. Save Margaret River. Yeah. Like Margaret River's amazing. Yes, they never have a bad vintage. The wines are great, but you look at. They're a bit more marginal. You see what's happening in Europe and frosts and like you're gambling every year.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that makes the Hunter so amazing is we have something that we are the best at. Like we're going to talk about Chardonnay, we'll talk about Shiraz. That's amazing. But this style of Semillon is the best of its type in the world by a country mile. And we have that, and that's us. And I think, everyone's always comparing to other places. It means that it's never going to be like this huge commercial powerhouse either. It's not going to be a Chardonnay or a Sauvignon Blanc or whatever, but like I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like it's ours, we own it. And then it's back to the Sydney thing. It's kind of, people talk about, we always talk about, Sydney rock oysters, like indigenous to this coastline from a little section of the world. And like I kind of think of it like this. This is from here. You can't find this style anywhere else. Like get around it. That's what makes the Hunter so unique, is we have something that no one else has.
And we need to champion it a lot more as well, right?
Yeah. And what we like to do, we like to sample a few of the wines as we ask questions. We might start that process off now. And so I think we're starting with the Vat1 Semillon 2017. Do you want to tell us a bit of a story about this?
Yeah, so we've got two Vat1s there. So I might just introduce Vat1 generally, and then we'll talk about the two vintages. So Vat1 predominantly, like 90% comes from the little vineyard just across the road, which we call the Short Flat. So the Short Flat vineyard is the home of most of Vat1, all of Vat47 Chardonnay, and a good chunk of Vat9 Shiraz. Like it's, I'm biased, but I'm not sure a vineyard in the country covers that many classics in one spot of different varieties. It's an amazing vineyard, an amazing place. So look, and there's no real trickery, guys. So that vineyard, the oldest section's 1923. Obviously all hand-pruned. And goes without saying, everything we'll talk about, all the vines are on their own roots, so pre-phylloxera material on their own roots, no irrigation, all cane-pruned, all hand-picked, all the good stuff, right? But Semillon as a variety, from a winemaking point of view, there's not a whole lot you can do. So hand-picked, we just press it, put about up to half of the amount of stalks we'll put in with the press. Helps with pressing it, helps with drainage. And then we clarify it overnight, and then we start fermenting it, and then, that's it. It finishes ferment, and you filter it a few months later, and you bottle it just after that.
It's truly an expression of the fruit.
And that's right. And I think you've either got it or you don't. From a vineyard point of view, and we're really lucky we've got a few amazing sites here. And I think the thing about Vat1, which I always come back to, is it's just the depth and the power. And we could do a big lineup of Semillon, and usually when you do the young ones, so if we had all 23s, if we had 50 from the Hunter, not more often than not, but quite often, people will pass over Vat1 and they'll say aromatic, because it's never the most aromatic, particularly in our stable as well. We make 6 or 7 Semillons, and people think, oh, it's a bit big, it's a bit forward. And then you get to the 17 and it looks leaner and more focused, and they just have so much power, but in a tight frame.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Like, and there aren't many wines in the world at that low alcohol. So we're talking, you know, anywhere from 10.5 to 11.5. That low alcohol that are unwooded with that much depth of flavour and power that aren't like, you know, that are dry. So not like the sweet whites of Europe, but you know, they're back to that word unique. You know, and that wine is so fresh.
Yeah, it
like
is.
You get the 17. You get a bit of development on the nose, and I think that kicks in at that 6-7 year period. But it's when you get after, but it still tastes pretty fresh, that one. And we got an older one next, and then it starts fleshing out. But still, it's that. And we're going to talk about a few varieties today. The spine of these wines is always that acidity. That's what the region does.
Yeah.
You know, that'll come back to that. But they're not, I guess the misconception with Semillon is that they're really high acid. They're actually not. So we have this, again, back to the climate, our humidity, diurnal range, all those things. We actually get a pretty low pH, like similar to a lot of other regions. But our TA, the total acidity, will not be super high. So we kind of get low pH, mid TA. So it's that relationship as well. But yeah, I think the misconception of, you have to leave them before you can drink them is the wrong one that people say. You have to leave them for so long. But and you've tried a few younger ones on this trip.
Yeah.
They're not like, I can't drink them.
Yeah.
No, I think those days have passed a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Just maximum flavour.
But Hunter and Semillon, do we do it well here? Because I guess the question is it hard to grow Semillon? And then does Hunter do it well because we do it well in terms of we have the right climate, the right soil to grow Semillon?
It's funny. And it's a little bit of all of that, I reckon. And Semillons, like the skins aren't the toughest things, which comes back to we're in a humid place that rains a bit from time to time anyway. But yeah, it just works, you know, and we've tried all these varieties over the centuries. You know, we're nearly 200 years now here, you know, not just the decades. And this is the one that we keep coming back to, you know, and you get that flavour ripeness at lower sugars, which is why we can make this style that other places probably can't. Yeah. And, you know, Semillon is a water user, and by that I mean it's always chugging along, always ripening, and it won't, if it gets really hot, it won't really shut down like some varieties do. Like Chardonnay will slow right down in its ripening, whereas Semillon just keeps charging. So you get that flavour development, phenological ripeness quicker.
We also like to ask stupid questions here in the wind-up. Semillon or Semillon?
I was going to ask the same question. Which one is it?
I say Semillon, and I grew up saying Semillon. I think it was Tomo or maybe Ian Riggs said like, you should say Semillon because it sounds more expensive. Well, yeah, we were at an event somewhere and one of them said that. I think you can say both.
Say both.
Doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
There's no right or wrong.
And quite often I do say both, like within the same sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
There you have it. Heard from Chris Tyrrell. You can say it both ways. No right or wrong.
Yeah.
Just drink it. It's the way to go.
Yeah, shut up and drink it. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask other questions as part of the interview, but having tasted that, I'm dying to compare it to the 06.
Yeah, I think
we should do that.
Let's do the first two together. Yeah.
So I'll put this up. So another Vat1 Semillon or Semillon, 2006.
That smells absolutely delicious.
That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. So a bit more age, but how does it transform it?
That curdiness, right?
What did you say?
Just that curdiness.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I think
butteriness.
Yeah, it kind of goes from when they're super young. It's like that citrus juice, zest, all those things, and then you get into like a bit more wax and honey, and then they become curd. I always use like lemon curd, lime curd, marmalade. Like they you're in that citrus world still, but everything's just getting richer, deeper. But the acidity is still really nice on that, you know. It's just got a lot more hanging off it now, a lot more depth, and you know, like, geez, I think when we sold that, it was like $30 back in the day.
Wow!
Like it's one of the best white wines ever made in Australia. That 06 Vat one, it's a ripper, and I feel pretty strongly about that. That's an amazing vintage, that 06. I really love it, personally. Anyway,
but earlier you were saying the 2017, it was a bit constrained. It still had a lot of energy and power, but a bit constrained. This has opened up and kind of let that loose a bit more.
Yeah, and I think when Semillon starts to come towards the end, and certainly not saying that with this one, and a lot of white wines generally, they start to dry out on the back palate. Like when they start to get a bit Hessian-y and dry out, then you know, like start drinking, let's get into it. Or it's getting close, you know. But that's just fucking awesome, isn't it? It's just
with the 17, it was very focused and powerful. But then actually, it's low alcohol, feel a bit of a kind of heat kind of going through the back as well. This one is a lot more, it's kind of like plusher and mellow. And it's kind of like, sometimes you go to those nice restaurants, have those really good butter. It's it's like
trendy butter. Yep. No, I agree. That's and the old one that I think when they get older it kicks in, but that buttered toast. But I reckon you used to see that more with the cork finish ones. Like they're still buttery and stuff, but a bit less of that like burnt toast. Yeah. And it was obviously like taint from the cork. You don't get as much of that anymore.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Why would you want to drink anything else?
I know. I've got a question. I read that when you were younger, you're looking after your grandfather's dogs.
No, it's good.
And you decided to go for a joyride in your grandfather's car.
Oh, it wasn't quite a joyride. I was wanting it to be a joyride. Yeah, no, that story came out recently with the something with the Real Review guys, I think. Someone threw me under a bus. But yeah, my grandfather, so he's on the same property just a bit further away. Or was, sorry, he's passed away obviously, but always had cattle dogs, like working dogs. And so like in back, you didn't need to do much with them, because he had to. So he said, go over on one of the days, just one day, and make sure that they're alive and fed. And I let them out, and they ran under the ute because they'd always sleep under the ute here at work at the house. How do I get them out of this ute? And I think I was 8 or 9, like young. Couldn't get them out. And I'd done a bit of like bush bashing, but again, I'm 8 years old. Like I kind of knew how to drive a car, but not that well. And we used to have Subaru Brumbies everywhere, like still my favourite car ever. Do you remember the Subaru Brumby, the little ute?
Oh, no.
Amazing car.
Yeah.
Google it later.
Yeah.
So Murray had one of them and it was parked like right up against the wall. Why, I don't know. But I thought if I just start the car, then the dogs will run out and I'll chuck it in neutral and go put it in the thing and all good. So I've opened the door, I had the car on, and I've like leant around to see if the dog had jumped out, and my foot came off the clutch a bit. And the whole car's just done the big jump and like little thin asbestos wall probably. Boom, straight through the wall.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, and really panicked and just like got my motorbike, put the dog back in the cage, got the motorbike, rode home. And I think that was on like a Thursday maybe. I think Murray got back on like the Sunday.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, Steve, who I think like does a bit of gardening for us and probably just went over to make sure it was all good before Murray got back. He's like, what the fuck happened here? And then like a week later when Murray got back, I think I had to go over it. I think everyone knew it was me. I had to go
You didn't fess up.
I didn't fess up. No, I panicked, massive panic. Yeah. I thought if I just leave this, the ute will magically reattach itself from the wall and the wall will fix itself. Anyway, the things you do when you panic.
Yeah. I thought that, is there like a rebellious streak there?
No, just try and do the right thing by the dogs. Let's get the dogs back in the frigging cage. Anyway, yeah. But I've had a few crashes since then. It's a bit of,
Oh, no. You love your cars.
I used to drive a little bit fast when I was younger. I'm pretty good now. Got it.
With that, I'm trying to form a linkage. I can't find a linkage to the next question. But let's just move on to the next question.
Murray, Tyrrell and Chardonnay. There you go. There's the linkage. So that third one that we've got, I think it's good chance to maybe talk about the Chardonnay history here. Do you guys know the Chardonnay story here?
No, tell us.
Well, that's a lovely segue. So Vat47, we've got the 2022 there. So we've got a pretty, and it's easy to sort of just talk about it in a, probably too casually, but Murray, there was a period in time there in the 60s where not many people were drinking, white wine, really. They were drinking red wine, fortifieds, beer. And Murray with a few of his mates, so the Len Evans of the world, Rudy Comon in Sydney. There was a few sort of people that were drinking a lot of fine wine, and invariably white Burgundies were kind of happening. And Murray thought, well, these are, I like these are good, obviously. But it was a bit new to him, and he knew that Penfolds had a vineyard here with a bit of Chardonnay on it, or white Pinot, they would have called it back then. And Perce McGuigan, you would have heard of Brian McGuigan. Yep. So Perce was Brian's dad. He ran the Penfolds vineyards up here. So Penfolds weren't using it. That vineyard's called HVD, which we own now, but back then we didn't. And Murray said, well, can I get some cut-ins of that Pinot Chardonnay? They would have called it as well. And I'm going to plant some at home, and I'm going to make a wine, just 100% barrel fermented like they do in France. And the answer from the Penfolds office for a few years was no. But what they didn't know is Murray had a mate there, a guy we always called him Shim. Shim was ran the property, did the tractor work, did the fence in, did whatever. And Murray said, hey, Shim, mate, can you, they were really old mates, can you just give me some cut-ins to take home and plant? And Shim's like, yeah, sweet, mate, I'll leave a few bundles down in the creek tonight. And thinking, there'd be 50, maybe 100 cuttings. There's a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
So Murray came back and planted the Chardonnay here on that short flat vineyard we spoke about in 1968. And then in 1971, there was a barrel, number 47, so a barrel this size.
Yeah.
A touch smaller, actually, than the number 47. And we've got the head of it, the centre stave in the cellar door. And that was the first commercially labelled and sold Chardonnay in Australia, the 1971 Vat47. One single vat, one barrel. And a lot of people hated it. You know, a lot of people were like, why the hell would you do that? You know, a lot of industry people were saying like, and a lot of people, he entered it in wine shows and like feedback from industry colleagues and mates was like, it's either horrible or it's amazing. I don't quite know because it was all a bit foreign. And then he upped the ante and Murray was the 73. He was the first person to ferment white in brand new French oak barrels, had imported some, and now it's the number one planted variety in Australia, a white variety. So to think that it all came from, wanting to make something better, wanting to expand the offer and expand take it to the market, it's pretty cool. So we only haven't made one, 2020, the smoke taint year. So that's the 51st, Vat47. So almost totally continuous apart from the smoke taint year.
Wow.
So pretty amazing. And Vat47, like Australian Chardonnay, has had so many evolutions and revolution along the way. Like, it's always changing, always evolving with the market, with the style. But I think we're in a point now where it's probably the mid 2000s really where probably the wine, like people stopped buying them because they're too big and rich. And I think then maybe the pendulum swung too far the other way, and a lot of Australian Chardonnays are probably too lean and mean. And I think now it's back in the middle where it should be. And I think they've all got Chardonnays about flavour and power, but I think what we figured out now is it's also about freshness and acidity, and it doesn't need to be about new oak and doesn't need to be about malo, doesn't need to be about alcohol. So ours have always been, I think the Hunter sits in a pretty good place from a stylistic point of view, and I like a lot of Margaret River Chardonnay as well, but we've got the generosity because it is Chardonnay, it's what you want, right? But you do manage to, keep them fresh, keep the acidity. It's kind of where we sit with that.
So you still use a kind of big format and a bit of...
No, we use all barriques actually, just in another room down the back there. And we always have, and we've kind of evolved over time. And I think one of the good things about Tyrrells, we were talking before we got on what makes Tyrrells different and unique and what clicks. But we have a single Cooper that we use for that. And then that Cooper became, so Cooper being the brand of barrel, so to speak. That Cooper was getting a bit of a reputation for making like pretty punchy, pretty aggressive. I call it like that bacon fat, like pretty, And a lot of people were moving away from them. Big famous Cooper though. Yeah. And we were actually the first people they sold barrels to outside of Europe. So we had a long relationship with them, knew the family. And we thought, I think this is a Tyrrell's lesson that some people could maybe learn from is, a lot of people said, don't like the barrels. Okay, what is the best Chardonnay in Australia? Let's say you love Lewin. Call Lewin, or someone there. What barrel are you using? They say this one. Yeah. Okay, I'll buy that one next year. Forgetting you're on the other side of the country, different vineyard, different everything. So we thought, okay, well, instead of changing, let's use the relationship. So we went to them and said, okay, well, we're not that happy. We're not, but hey, we've been doing this business for 30 years. Let's sort this out.
Yeah.
So they said, okay, well, give us 5 years and we'll do a project about toasting, about wood selection. So we did this long project with these guys based on that vineyard. Yeah. Right? So not on token, you do barrel trials with companies, they come in with a little test tube with a bit of wood in it and they try it, or controls from a fucking Riverland Chardonnay. It's just not relevant. And we don't like, it's like, okay, well, no, we've got the relationship, let's use it, So now we ended up getting a barrel from the same Cooper, but it was a Tyrrell's barrel made for that vineyard. And it took us 5 years, but in the wine industry, 5 years is like blinking an eye, I reckon. We're not like, we think in decades, not like 5 years is nothing. 5 years goes like that. So that's I think with Vat47's in a really good place because we've done things like that. Yeah.
Do you think that style of maintaining relationships, because when we've been talking to different people in Hunter and they talk about the relationships with Tyrrell, it's always a good community kind of relationship, looking after each other. Yeah. Is that the Tyrrell's culture, or is that Hunter Valley's community culture? Or what is it?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
The Hunter is always, wherever you go in Australia, is known as a really collegiate region. Probably because we don't have the big corporates. And I'm not, not having to go at that, but this is who we are. That's all I know. This is us, right? But you're always talking to each other about what you're doing better. What's not working is just as important. People here are pretty thick-skinned in the sense that, like, they're okay. You're okay to be told by a mate that your wines aren't great because there might be a reason, and everyone's open to feedback, open to help. And I think that's really important. And Tyrrell's is just a part of that. I know, like, Tyrrell's doesn't build the culture for the region, but we're part of the region.
Yeah.
And you look at a place like this, we've mentioned it before, like we talk about Murray Tyrrell, Bruce,
yes.
My last name's Tyrrell, but, we've got staff that have worked here for 40 years, 25% of all the people who work here have been here more than 20 years.
Andrew Spinner's here, right? Spinner, 42.
Spinner's 40, 40 plus, yeah.
So
and they are as much Tyrrells as people with the last name Tyrrell.
Yeah. It really shines through. I think people is an important thing.
What do you think of that one, the Vat47?
Yeah.
Oh, I think it's completely different to a lot of the other Chardis that I've had before, but there's a nice, there's like a saltiness right in the finish in there that I really enjoy.
Well, I say oyster shell, but same thing. Yeah.
I feel that.
Yeah, it's a good, like, cooler vintage.
Yeah.
Quite like that. And we've just released that, like, this week or next week it's coming out.
Yeah, it's got that kiss of oak, but again, it goes against a lot of the kind of brighter Chardonnays that a lot of people are doing at the moment. It's got a bit more body to that one. It's almost... I think,
we make a bright, leaner style thing called Semillon.
Yeah.
And like people say, oh, it's just like Burgundy. Yeah. And you try the Chardonnays and it's like lean and mean. Like, you've tried a freaking Burgundy. Yeah. But we shouldn't be comparing to France, but we're doing it right now. But like, Chardonnay's about flavour. That's why we like it.
Yeah.
You can't make them too pared back.
I put like a bit like a almond croissant type of thing, like a kind of...
Yeah, definitely. Yep, good call. Yep. So that's all. We've got an old basket press, which we would have walked past coming down here.
Yeah.
So it's all basket pressed. Again, why? Because it just works for us. And we went back to the pH thing, back to acid.
Yeah.
We're a warmer region, and like, when are Tyrrell's going to buy a vineyard in Tassie? People always ask. Like, we're from the Hunter. This is us, right? No, but we can't pick up our vineyard and dump it in a cooler place. So you got to work with what you got. What's the expression? Leopard can't change its spots. So what can we do to preserve all those things? And that's where that basket press really for us worked. We get the same fruit. We were getting lower pH, higher TA. So we're kind of not engineering out, the warm vintages, but we kind of were.
Yeah.
Like, so what can we do in the winery to get all those little free wins without having to just add acid and do all this stuff? So that's been a big part, that basket press, huge part of the Vat47 story.
Another wind-up stupid question. The Vat, so Vat1, Vat47 is just same thing as Penfold's been?
So when my grandfather sort of really got the business going, so his uncle was a guy called Dan Tyrrell, who was generation 2. He died in 1959, and Murray looked after the cattle. Murray didn't work in the wine business really. A bit of vineyard and cattle, but certainly wasn't the winemaker because the business was so small, right? You just did whatever you did. But up until that point, we didn't really have wines under our own label either. So Murray kind of got that going. Most of our wine was sold to like merchants, or a lot went to Mount Pleasant. They used to buy a lot of our wine. But there was a few really bad hail vintages. I'm going to say like 60, 61 that were basically wipeouts. There was no wine virtually. So Murray sort of opened the doors up, and people would come and taste wine out of like here we've got Vat 85, Vat 86, but Vat 9, Vat 1, and they'd say when you bottle them, like just send me a case of Vat 1. Like that's the way it works for X years, and now we've got well over 100 of those vats. But over time, the original Chardonnay was in Vat47, but now it's in Barriques. The original, the best Semillons, there is a Vat 1 as well. So it's kind of morphed into those sort of flagship wines. Best one's Semillon's Vat 1, Vat 9 Shiraz. Yeah.
It's a bit like the Chinese takeaway, like number 32, sweet and sour.
Pretty much. It's fucking easy to remember, right? And we've got some weird named vineyards here. Short flat, long flat, like all sorts of weird things. So numbers are just give me number one. Number one's the best, right? Anyway.
It does make it easy to remember. And so what we have is number 6.
Yeah, number 6.
That's 6 Pinot Noir.
So this is a weirdie.
2023.
Yeah. So bit like the Chardonnay story with my grandfather, like Chard and Pinot with the Burgundy things, obsessed with Burgundy. Mount Pleasant has still the oldest Pinot vineyard in the country. And there's a clone of Pinot which is widely used, one of the biggest, called MV6. And there's Mother Vine number 6 over there. at Mount Pleasant. So all the Pinot cuttings came from over there, agreed to, handed over willingly. And Pinot's been a thing here that we've done since the late 60s, early 70s. And it's had a pretty weird history here, here at Tyrrell's. And we've in the 1976 is this famous one that won the International Wine Olympics, was on the bloody cover of Time magazine, all that sort of crap, right? It was a really famous one. And then, as probably the climate's changed a bit, as all those things, they're not as, it's a hard place to grow Pinot here, really hard. So Vat6, we always think we ain't doing it unless it's really good. So the 23 we bottled in December, but it's getting released in like 10 days. And I really like that 23 a lot actually. So all old vines just on the hill here.
It's got piercing acidity to it though.
Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
That's what we do, right? Acidity is the backbone of these wines, not alcohol and tannin. And
it's got those kind of soft and supple tannins to it.
Why is it hard to grow Pinot in Hunter? What's the challenge?
Oh, that's nice. But that tastes like Pinot, and I mean that in like a. That's why we don't do it every year, because if we make it every year, but we won't release it as Vat6 every year, they get a bit dry, reddish, a bit non-varietal, and to me that's varietal. That's MV6 in particular, that clone's a really small bunch, like little hand grenades. So if it's really hot, it shrivels pretty quick, and because it ripens earlier, you can get that heat like around Australia Day, early January. It can pulverize it.
Yeah.
And the other side of that, tight little bunches, if you get any rain, you get like through the middle of the bunch, that center section, you just get a band of rot. It'll split really easily, and it's just, whereas Shiraz is like 3 or 4 times the length and much more open.
Yeah, got it. Which makes sense why you need to be so selective here.
Yeah,
it's a really gutsy and powerful Pinot for me.
Yeah,
it's got a bit more body than the other Pinots that I've been having there.
You're one of the first people to taste it.
Oh, thank you.
That's all right. What a treat. That's all right. You might be the first person to taste the next one. Way outside of the staff.
To me, it kind of like the choice around releasing the Pinot, grandfather's choice around doing a Chardonnay. There's an element of courage to do that and go against the norm.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered this, particularly for a winery that's got such a long heritage. How do you choose the wines that you want to do? And is it you listen to the consumer and cater to that, or you go, look, it's what we can do best in this location? How do you choose which varietals?
I think that's a great question. I think the answer is like, it's sometimes a bit of both. And like customers always right, the market's right. Sometimes they're not. But in the sense that, and then there's also the layer of, I can't do that. And like I said before, a leopard can't change its spots. And we talk about that a lot. And I think, lovely segue into the Shiraz next, right? But I remember when I first started, like we couldn't give Hunter Shiraz away. Because everyone wanted, that was like a few years after the Robert Parker. Let's think about those 98 reds in Australia. Everyone wanted bigger. And we had these medium-bodied things that are bright and pretty. And then the Hunter kind of, as a region, but Tyrrell's they were maybe a bit bigger, and then a bit of American oak and blah, blah, blah. But then it was like, okay, well, fuck all that. There are these amazing old vineyards, and we're going to make them, everyone sits around and talks about these old ones from the 50s and 60s. Well, like, I wonder what they taste like when they were younger. Probably not like the ones we're releasing now. So it's kind of going back to your origins to build the future in a funny way. Like, but like those wines of the 90s and 80s and even early 2000s, like they're great. Like, and they're off the time, and we're not discounting them, but it's probably getting back to our roots, and, you just go back to the big barrels, but let's get newer ones. So let's freshen them up that way. We really changed the winemaking, and then, okay, they're medium-bodied, but they're amazingly delicious, and we know because of history they live a long time, and they're also drinkable now. But at the same time, the market wants bigger. Yeah. And it's like, well, okay, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, and we'll wait. And they're a bit of us hard, but now things like 4 Acres, Old Patch have waiting lists of 1,000 people.
Yeah.
And I think the way Australia lives and the way we, the food we eat and all that, the climate, like suits medium-bodied wines with softer tannin, savoury and nice acidity, right? So I think the time is certainly coming. In the age of medium-bodied reds, we're in it now.
Yeah.
And you see like those great modern McLaren Val Grenache and great Pinots, and Hunter Shiraz kind of sits in there pretty well, I reckon.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be a place for big reds, right? But yeah. I think sticking to your guns is something particularly with that we've done, and it paid dividend. Yeah.
I always imagined if there was like a big coming from corporates and businesses, if there was a big push around data gathering, big surveys. What kind of wines do you like, customers? Is that what happens at Tyrrell's, or can you demystify that for me?
It's amazing your customers are like, they're pretty honest,
but
particularly the good ones, and they'll tell you if you're on the wrong track.
Yeah,
and like if one person says it, then it's okay, but then you kind of, but yeah, over time it'll be like you might build up a database of information. If everyone's saying, "Geez, I don't like that," and it might have been a decision you made that year, and it's like, okay, well, I know why, because we'll just not do that, and like it does, and there's been little things we've done over the years that we've maybe removed because a lot of our good customers will say, I don't know what it is, but something about that one, and you don't have to tell them what it was, or you just say, it just needs time, and hope they forget. But you got to listen. You do need to listen.
But it goes back to
at the same time, stick to your guns. That's the hard part.
The balance between both.
We hear all the stories and the traditions around the vats and the heritage of Tyrrell's. Do you think there's a pressure to kind of keep that quality up, to kind of maintain that Tyrrell's name?
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's back to what we said at the start. Like, I think if I said in front of if my dad was here, and he's upstairs, but if I said, I just want to, if I can just keep it like this, then I've done a good job. He would fucking flog me. But like that's the worst answer.
Yeah.
So it's like anything. Like people talk about you hire people that are smarter than you because you know all that stuff. You have to be getting better. You got to try and leave a better legacy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So always trying to get better.
What is Chris Tyrrell's legacy then that you're going to leave behind?
I don't know. Better get moving though. No, look, I think one thing that I've always been pretty strong on and like, sorry, not strong on, pretty like I feel quite strongly about is the old vine thing.
Yeah.
I think if we go back through the generations, for instance, grandfather was Chardonnay, dad Semillon.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's maybe historically, and again, it's no right or wrong answer, but maybe historically we were a bit modest about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think I feel really strong, like, no, like, fuck off. Like this is the home of some of the oldest vine material in the world. And I'm going to tell the Europeans to get stuff. You know what I mean? Like that, and I think that's something really important. So now we bottle 5 separate Shiraz wines from vineyards over 100 years old. 2 Semillons, soon to be 3, and 1 Chardonnay. The oldest Chardonnay vineyard on the planet is here. One of the oldest Semillon vineyards, Shiraz 1860s, 1870s. Like, this is kind of like rare shit we're talking about, right? In a good way. Yeah. So I think, and it's not about, it doesn't taste as good as Vat9, which is the blend of the, it doesn't matter. Like, and I think we feel really strongly about, like, if people talk about single vineyard, people talk about a lot of that stuff, and then it's not put your money where your mouth is. I think what I mean is, like, I think they've been in the ground that long, they've produced really good fruit for that long. You probably owe it to them to at least bottle them on their own and go and show them to people. And are single vineyard wines as consistent as a super premium blend? Maybe not, but it's not what it's about either.
That's what makes it special.
Yeah, it's a window into what was happening that year at that spot. Yeah, and we're pretty clear on that now. I think that's something I feel really strongly about and then promoting that around the West. We've got 8 wines bottled from vineyards over 100 years old, and I'm not sure. Someone in the audience can tell us. I'm not sure there's another winery in the world that has that many individual bottlings of like ungrafted pre-phylloxera material. And so that I feel really strongly about. And that's my sort of goal for the next little while, is just keep hammering that home. So there's an international old vine conference now. So I've been talking to them about doing some stuff next year with them and just spreading the word that this is unique. It's amazing. We've got to treasure it. And whether that's like, I don't need to get into it today, but whether it's about development in wine regions, which is pretty savage in a lot, and the Hunter's one of them. How do we protect these assets?
Yeah. Is that a continuation of that shift from what Tyrrell's was before, in terms of more mass volume, to now a bit more specialised and single vineyards? Is what you touched on. Yeah,
it's just the way it's evolved. Yeah, and like there's not like it was bad before; it was amazing before. Yeah. But I think in some ways we've kind of gone, and I don't like comparing, but here we go. Kind of gone from like maybe a bit of a Bordeaux style producer where there was the estate Semillon, the estate Chardonnay, the estate Shiraz, where anything that was a grade that year went into that flagship wine. And now we've kind of more like a Burgundy producer where we make probably way too many wines. Like our Shiraz release next week, we're missing one, but there's 11 in the release. And the Pinot. So 10 Shiraz, 10 single vineyard, or Vat9's a blend, but this is from basically single vineyard. But, we could make an extra 4,000 dozen Vat9 and have one wine.
Yeah.
Would that be as interesting?
Yeah.
Maybe not. So that's kind of how we've evolved.
Yeah.
Was the old way better or worse? I don't know. That's just where we are now.
I think that's where the feedback and response is what's important. You kind of tweak it and give it a try. If it doesn't work, then you change things.
Yeah.
But I think it's that balance though. Like, as you say, there's a lot of single vineyard wines on your list. And to me, I found it a bit confusing. What are the ones I need to start trying?
And that's kind of, and that's the feedback you do see. Like whether it's some of those online forums or I read something the other day, someone said like, it's all too hard. So I'm just going back to Vat9.
Yeah.
Just going back to what I did 10 years ago. And not it's all too hard, but it's like, I don't know. Like, it's too and actually just before, when we were getting the table for this tasting right now, a guy pulled me up there and he's like, the release is in 2 weeks. He said, I'm getting 3. Tell me the ones to get. Yeah. It's like, so it's never perfect. Yeah. You've always got to try and tinker what you do.
I compare it to when you go to a restaurant, you get that wine list that's like a book. There's like, what do you go for?
So what we see now is people like have their 1 or 2 non-negotiables and then 1 floater.
Yeah.
So I might get like 4 acres, which is very hard to get. So maybe they've got their allocation of that. And then they'll get some Vat9, and then one of the other ones, like a Mother's or a Stevens, they'll just go to the tasting and top up as required. Yeah.
What's your best bang for buck Tyrrell's wine then?
HVD Semillon. So 17's on the market now. It's $45 in the cellar door. 100 and nearly 120-year-old vineyard.
Yeah.
Stupidly underpriced, but hey, that's the world we live in.
Yeah.
I really like that last wine there at the moment. Yeah, I really like that a lot, even though it's you guys are the first to see it.
Yeah.
So that was bottled 10 days ago, that 2023 Vat9 Shiraz.
Segue?
Good segue into this bottle. And so we've got the Vat9 Shiraz 2023 on screen right here.
And like, just look at the colour. We've got a lovely white tablecloth and lovely fluoro lights, which are making it look even better. But yeah, look, 23 was an amazing vintage where like warm and dry, but not hot, which is good. And just amazing vineyards that we source for that, which is just through the strip of the winery here. So some 1892 stuff, 1968, 1970, 1921. So all old vine, all really good. And again, like, don't overcomplicate it. Our winemaking's pretty simple. So it's all that fruit is de-stemmed. But then we don't have a crusher. So a lot of places you'll have a de-stemmer, takes the berries off the stalk, they fall into a crusher, fall into a pump, you pump it to the vat. We've re-engineered our cellar over there that we have a de-stemmer. We don't own a crusher anymore, and we just de-stem into tubs. We drive the tub in, so you're not pumping it and splitting them up, tip them in individually, and then we'll use some whole bunch normally, and we always have. My grandfather was big on that, and mostly natural ferments. So we try and have them on skins for a couple of weeks, which is long-ish, but not much heavy extraction. So when I first started at Tyrrell's, they were on skins a much shorter amount of time. Yeah. And frankly, we flogged the hell out of them because you knew you had to get the fermenter empty to fill it again 2 or 3 times over the vintage. But we now have a cellar where we have enough fermenters of a size and shape that fit every vineyard we have or grower we buy from.
Yeah.
So we've got 450 tons of space in about 12 different size configurations. So we fill once, and that's a huge luxury. But we think it's important. So you can make them all the same. Like every year, Vat9 would be great, but maybe it's the stuff that goes into 25 bucket that you'd have to rush through, or just logistics would decide, whereas now we make them all the same way, which is great. But how nice is that?
As
like
I'm
that?
tasting it,
be nice to me. It's
I love it where it's like kind of like more that kind of bright red fruit, but then I get kind of on the nose like creaming soda.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's all bright, fresh, sort of summer fruits, but even like kind of cranberry, raspberry. Yeah, and I think that wine's, but it's got nice texture, and I think when you get that creaminess, that mid palate creaminess, is when I know we're kind of on, so to speak.
What's the oak treatment on this one?
So it's all these guys, and that vintage is about 1,000 dozen, so just over. So it's like 4 of those. And probably one of them would be new, one would be 1-year-old, like, sort of all newish, maybe one new one, but 1 or 2 or 3-year-old. Yeah. So they would be in their individual vineyards until November that year. So we do Melbourne Cup Day every year. We do our classification tasting go out, get pissed, come back, watch the race. And then we usually have to do the tasting again because we sometimes forget due to the race. But after that point, so end of November, early December, they come out and they go back as Vat9. That might be my dad, I reckon.
All right. Surprise
I could hear the voice.
Well,
Someone's walking down the stairs.
yeah, you can hear.
It is. Just on cue. Bruce Tyrrell walked
There's
in.
a surprise.
So, everyone, Bruce Tyrrell, this is that.
Hello.
Great to meet you.
So we'll just talk about all things Tyrrells, all things history, all things family business.
No, I remember when I tasted through all the top 23s,
Yeah.
I went back and did it again
Yeah.
because they were just so bloody good.
Yeah.
We had 17 Vat1, 06 Vat1, 22 Vat47, 23 Vat6, 23 Vat9.
That's not bad,
It
drink.
was all.
It's not bad.
I thought, what are they going to want to taste?
It was fantastic.
Just a little smattering of things.
Friday afternoon, I kept thinking it's Saturday.
Yeah, it's a good representation of Tyrrells.
Yeah.
What is the most memorable wine that you've had?
From Tyrrell's, Vat1 Semillon 1972.
What was it behind that? Why?
And the other one that I'll never forget is 64 Latache.
What about this one? Like, if you could have a bottle of wine with someone past or present, who would it be?
Oh, there's a whole lot of villains.
Yeah.
No.
Anyone in the world?
After hearing him speak and being part of a conference I was at last year,
Oh, here we go.
John Malkovich.
Yeah. Bruce had dinner with John Malkovich last
Dinner
year.
with John Malkovich and about 10
Yeah.
others. I thought at the end of it, what a fascinating man.
Yeah.
I wonder how high his IQ is.
Yeah.
And he took the mickey out of half the crowd. You'd see him doing it. He was doing it for fun.
Yeah.
And I thought, what an interesting character you'd been at.
And you had 98 Vat1, didn't you?
98
Yeah.
one. But it was under screw cap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a vermouth bottle. Because you couldn't buy normal bottles for screw caps.
Yeah.
So we had it in the vermouth bottle.
It was still good?
It's fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It's a ripper.
Absolutely fantastic.
With your experience, is there still a wine that you're looking to try? One you haven't tried before?
Oof.
Ooh.
He's not going to say like a pet nat or something, I reckon.
No, definitely.
Nah.
You'd be one of those and I'll throw it out the window. Yeah, look, there's something out there that I haven't seen. I haven't seen a lot of South African wine for
Yeah.
Of modern,
Jesus.
it's fair call.
Nearly 50 years since I really had a good look at. I was over there, and the wine industry then was, a few private growers, and the KWV and Stellenbosch farmers, which were fascinating. KWV, and it was like the Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
They were all tall. They were all pale skin, black hair, slicked down.
Yeah.
And they wore black suits with skinny legs, pointed-toed boots, and a skinny black tie. Straight out of the Blues
That is the
Brothers.
Blues Brothers, yes.
Yeah. And they treated it very seriously. And then you went across the road to Stellenbosch Farmers because they're both cooperatives.
Mm.
The guy who ran that, Ronnie Milk, Ronnie could look at a bottle of wine and take it in through his eye. I never had another read again. I could survive that.
Yeah.
If I had great old white to drink.
Yeah. Old Semillon or old Chardonnay?
It's old and great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Semillon, Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Probably the same,
Riesling.
actually.
Yeah.
Well, they're not a lot of the Riesling goes as far as it's just that what this area in the Hunter does. It makes wines that live for a long time.
Yeah.
I think if you look at all those wines we've tried today, there's like the region sits over the variety in many, it's what's the backbone, acidity, good texture, like doesn't matter what variety, that same DNA.
Same thumbprint.
Yeah.
Well, that's one question. Do we need to kind of, again, talk about more upper and lower Hunter and be more around designation?
Oh, in terms of generally in the market, I don't think it happens as much as it used to.
Yeah.
And a lot of there's not many brands left up there anymore, compared to historically.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
30
brands.
years ago, there were bloody wineries everywhere.
Yeah, whereas now it's a lot more growers and less brands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that because down here you can focus a lot more on quality and that's where the market's going?
Look, we made some. We had.
I don't think the quality is that much worse, so to speak. It's just more like commercial entities in terms of marketing and selling brands down here. A lot,
Yeah, we had a quite substantial vineyard up there, right up the top of the valley. And, I remember we had a Semillon that cropped 9 a bit ton to the acre.
Yeah.
Got champion young white at the local show, Hunter Valley Wine Show. And those wines lived 10, 15 years, pull them up at that. But they were really great. They were a little bit less acid. But, we were irrigating 6, 7, 8, 9 tonne to the acre. It was not a problem.
Yeah.
And the wine still held up chemically and lived for a good amount of time.
Mm.
So someone who, bought a bottle for $10 and stuck it in the cupboard and forgot about it for 10 years got a pretty good surprise.
I always pull out that we've got we had a brand called Old Winery. And they're like, $10.
Yeah.
And the 2005 was this legendary vintage. And I quite often pull it out, usually for our own staff, like new staff, like we'll do an options game. And they all thought, that's got to be that 05 Vat1. It's got to be. And you say, no, it's all Upper Hunter and a blend of this and that, and covered in gold medals. And
that one cropped about 7.5 tonne to the acre.
Wow.
Yeah. But we were right under one of the major water storage dams for the valley. And the water out of there is just incredibly pure. We had it tested.
Yeah.
The guy here did it. We bottled some. We were going to sell it, and then we realised we didn't own it. Yeah. So we couldn't. And guy here said, and we had a great friend who had chronic fatigue. She was getting blood transfusions every fortnight. And he said, give her that water. So I took a pallet of the water down.
Pallet.
And 2 weeks later, her brother had improved. The doctor she was seeing just couldn't believe that the only thing different was this water.
Wow.
It was just so pure, and it was flushing the toxins out of her system.
I'm actually 150 and Bruce is 300.
So you should be bottling that water.
That's what we should be.
Yeah.
Wine pricing is like, I could talk about wine pricing for another hour, but we probably shouldn't. It's an interesting time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember being told by a senior member of the trade in the 70s when Grange went through $10 a bottle and they ran out of stock in 3 weeks. Of course they put the price.
Yeah.
Suddenly they'd put a value on it.
Yeah.
That put it ahead of everything else.
Everyone loves having a crack at Penfolds, but like they allow all of us, like the whole country, to do what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a pricing point of view and prestige point of view, they do the heavy lifting for us all.
Yeah.
But he's saying the price it's the right price right now, or it's underpriced, or it's
what, Penfolds or our stuff, or
a Grange for $1,000.
Oh no, I think at the moment, no, I'm taking Penfolds out because that's an icon product. So that's like that Hill of Grace. It's like a pair of Aaron Williams boots, or that's just. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I think generally though, pricing's a bit silly at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of wines with not much pedigree and not much quality that are just asking way too much.
Last month or so, got a lot of stuff coming out of Europe.
I
think I read every day. Pricing is now coming back. I remember Burgundy when they were pouring it down the holes in the gutters.
Oh. Well, how much did you get your 72 Latache for?
I hate to think what I'd pay for it. But, in 70s, early 80s, Bordeaux and Burgundy was cheap.
Yeah.
We're going to Len Evans Wines, having a plate of roast beef and a bottle of Latache for $15. So we drank. My generation was lucky. We drank all those wines because they were freely available. And with Michael Broadbent. He was bought into Christie's to clear all the back stock. Serious quantities of wine.
Yeah.
That was what he did for the industry.
Yeah.
And there were 5 or 6 containers came into Sydney. And my sister used to run the sort of sales area for Len Evans Wine.
Yeah.
So Evans got involved and we had someone else pay for it. And, we go in there and, they'd got a dozen bottles open. So we just have a bit of a tasting, had a drink as much as anything. So we had the wonderful experience of trying the great wines of the world at somebody else's expense.
What do you think of the state of Australian wine at the moment?
Look,
healthy?
The good end of it is doing okay.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of people making their fortune at the moment. Like coming out of COVID simply because of reduced demand.
Yeah.
That's coming back. It's coming back at cheaper prices. There's no room for price rises at the minute.
Yeah.
unless you've got something exceptional.
Yeah.
This is the greatest vintage of Villa Grace. I can get a price rise. You can get buck or two here or there, but you're not going to get much. You ought to put a bottle of wine up by $40 a bottle today.
Yeah.
You want a lot of storage because it's not going to move. It's just, you look at the number of restaurants that are gone.
Yeah.
And the number of restaurants who are trading less out. They're going to restaurants. They're not drinking as much, but they're prepared to pay a bit more for it.
But do you think the restaurants need to focus, like if they're restaurants in Sydney, New South Wales, promote more of the Hunter, the New South Wales wine region, as opposed to others?
Trying to do that for a long time.
I was going to say, how long would it have been asking that question?
Yeah.
A lot, It's
because Hunter's the oldest wine region that it's hard to.
I don't know. Well, I'm not a restaurateur in Sydney, but it's interesting. There's always a few, but it doesn't seem like there's enough. So like,
we don't have enough arms and legs on the ground.
Yeah, I think that part of the other thing is maybe because they're smaller businesses, you're kind of doing everything. Haven't got just arms and legs to go and attack the trade all the time.
Yeah.
I think, I totally agree with what Bruce said. I think a lot of the misconception is, well, they're not stocking our wines. Well, it's like, well, have you gone and tasted with them and made an appointment and had a second appointment and a third appointment and keep
going until you get an order.
It's kind of creating that hype.
That annoys me. That's the only thing that annoys me a bit about these days at the moment is people just aren't willing to. And everyone's busy, right? Everyone's busy. I get that, but don't have a whinge about they're not stocking my wines without going and having a crack. And we're lucky. There's a lot of us, with the last name Tyrrell, and we have our own sales team, so there's always out and about.
Yeah,
and it's also if you're not out and about in the restaurants and the bottle shops, you don't know what's going on. You can read all the stuff on social media and whatever, but unless you walk and find out why have you got that next to the till, and that sort of stuff, what the actual retailers and restaurateurs are thinking, then.
And sometimes that's a pricing thing as well, isn't it? Like I was up in Queensland a few weeks ago, and it was just around one of our Chardonnays, and it's like if it was just it was $2 cheaper wholesale, then we'd sell like double as much.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not telling you to drop your price, but that's the reality. That's the market at the moment.
But it can go both ways. Sometimes you raise the price, then it creates more demand.
I agree. So we've had that. We've seen that.
And you keep sneaking it up. And you think, no, I can't do this again. So you just see what happens. The bloody sales, you're trying to slow a product down, put the price up, and the bloody sales go up with it. And the other thing is that once you get some reputation, there's a price under which part of the market won't pay.
Where do you think that sweet spot is, though?
I think it depends on the brand, the variety. Yeah, there's a few things at play there, isn't there?
I used to say it was over $100. I think it's slipping back a little below that now. Once you get into that market, price is irrelevant. People are going to buy the wine in here.
Exactly.
And they got more money than they can spend. So
thought about that kind of flagship wine like the Hill of Grace or Grange that you kind of put.
Maybe we're on our way. Yeah. Like Hill of Grace and those things are 60 years now, 50 years, like continuous.
Yeah.
Like some of these things that we do from the 100-year-old bottlings, the 100-year-old vineyards, we only started doing them in the mid-2000s.
Yeah.
And they've got no competition.
And things like Vat1's always been Vat1, but it was labelled as Riesling until the mid-80s. It's not that long ago, I think
towards the end.
Yeah. And you think about those really, really iconic ones. They've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
And that was the change to Semillon was I got on very well with the McWilliams.
Yeah.
And I convinced them to change to Semillon within a week or two of us. So the two key producers changed from Riesling to Semillon basically at the same time. So we got it through the market pretty quickly and pretty easily because of that.
Yeah.
But also, if there's, we don't have enough people out there singing the song.
But how do you create that kind of cult wine, like Wendouree? Like they're not big, right? But then they create.
I think that's I think we've got a few of them now. Like that barrel to Pinot Noir there. That's 4 acres, and that's got a waiting list of I think 1,200 people fully allocated. Yeah. So we kind of maybe already do.
Yeah.
In a funny old way. But I think I don't know. Is it all about having a cult wine? I don't know. Like. Would you want to make it double the price and not have a waiting list? Yeah. Or would you want I think deep down everyone likes the waiting list and the feeding frenzy and I don't know. Maybe it's too cheap then, right?
Yeah. You want to be like Screaming Eagle.
That was a good surprise.
Yeah,
Sorry, thanks for coming by. Did you plan this?
No. I could hear him though. I could hear the little noises he makes. I think that might be Dad.
All right, so that was a fantastic surprise, Bruce. Thank you for coming in. Chris, even if you didn't organise it.
I didn't organise it at all. No.
Thanks for that. And we did want to say again, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for
so
this
much for
opportunity to be in this fantastic place and hear the history of it. Taste some amazing wines. We're really fortunate. As we like to say here, drink more, try more, learn more.
Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.
And then drink some more.